Three, two, one.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey Jason, how you doing? How have you been?
I am good. It is
hmm
freaking cold, but I have
Tell me
been
about it,
good.
man. It's so cold. It's so cold.
Like, it just, it's funny because we were talking about how warm this winter was like a week ago or
Yeah,
something. I was
yeah.
just like, man, this is winter? Man, winter last year.
No,
But this time I was freezing. What's going on?
this was me last week. On Monday, I went to work wearing a hoodie, and on the walk to the station, I realized it's too hot for me to have my hoodie on. This week, all of a sudden, I can't leave the house without a hoodie and a jacket.
I wake up in the morning, I look at my phone, bro, it's 8 degrees. Like, and this is not like early in the morning, this is like 10 a.m. It's 8 degrees. I'm just like, what is
Mm,
going on?
mm,
What? What?
it's
Getting
too
out
much.
of bed
Yeah,
is like,
too much.
yeah, it's a problem because it's like, it's so cold. Like, you don't want to get out of bed. You're like,
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes I don't feel
Trust me.
like even turning
It's so
off my heater. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to turn off my heater and go into that coldness. Oh, God.
So with me, I try to turn it off in the morning. Like at night, I sleep with it on, but in the morning, I always turn it off.
I want to do that, but there's times where it's just like, nah, man, it's too cold. It's too cold.
No, I get you. I get you.
But I end
I'm not
up
gonna
like
force you.
I have to get out of bed because I have to do things like cleaning and stuff like that.
Mm,
So
mm,
I do have to turn off the heater.
mm, mm,
But once I'm
mm,
done, I'm back in that bed immediately.
mm.
Oh, so
No, I understand.
yesterday I got in some really good sleep. Like probably my best sleep in a while. Like I got in like a good 8 to 9 hours. I think almost 9 hours
Mm,
actually. Yeah, 9 hours. And when I woke up, I was wide awake, Oscar. Like super wide awake. Like there was no sleepiness to be found in my mind at all. Everything was gone, and I was just super bent on being and not even being like just going through the day. I'm going to wake up and attack today. That was what I woke up with, man. And
I don't think I've had 9 hours of sleep in a long fucking time.
I had complete clarity. My mind
Mm,
wasn't foggy. My body
mm.
wasn't groggy or anything. Maybe it was a little bit, but like it just felt so clear. Everything felt good. So, yeah, 9 hours of sleep, man.
Yeah, they do say that should be the mandatory for all human beings.
I think they said it's 8 hours, but yeah, 8 to 9 hours is. But man, like, look at our lives, our adult lives, man. You go to work, you get back home, you have to like make dinner,
Yeah,
and
it's not possible to. Maybe it's not that it's not possible. It's just really hard.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
especially with like having a kid, right? At Raha's age, she's going to wake up at least once or twice at night, right?
uh-huh,
Just because maybe she needs some milk or she wants to change her diapers, right? She wants us to change her diapers, right? So
uh-huh.
there's no way me or her mom are getting 9 hours of sleeping. There's no way. It's not possible.
And how long does this period last?
I don't know. I'll find out. I'll find out.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I'll find like today I send you a message. I want to talk about expectations, right? And I think this is
Expectations.
a brilliant segue to that. So if I go online and to look like to search something like how long does it take for babies to stop waking up in the middle of the night, I'll get a definite answer, right? Oh, it takes 1 year and 3 months as an example, right?
On average, yeah.
No, just I'm just giving you a random number. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know if this is a fact.
yeah, yeah. They'd say something like on
Then I will
average, it'll be like this amount of years.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I will live with this expectation. By the time she's 1 year and 3 months, she'll stop doing this. So, but when she's 1 year and 3 months and she's still doing this, I'll get more frustrated because she's doing the thing, right? As an example, yesterday I went to. So in our company, we tend to, if there are not enough teachers available, I might be sent to teach at a school that isn't my regular school. So yesterday I went to a school and I had the first class I had was a class with 3, 4-year-old kids. So I looked at the notebook. We have a notebook where people write information about the classes and the day. So I look at the notebook, right? And it said, so and so is too hyperactive. Be careful about them.
So wait, let me get this straight. So you're covering in another area? like a school in another
Yes,
area. Okay.
yes,
And
yes.
you were doing this. You said yesterday, right?
Yesterday, yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what happened is,
Mm-hmm.
when I opened the notebook and I saw that, I was getting ready to have this hyperactive kid in the class, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when the kid came, he was perfect. He was repeating all the words. He was remembering the vocab. He was amazing. I'm like, that's why, like, I make it a habit. If, for instance, I'm told to go and cover at your school, I make it a habit not to ask you how are the kids in that school. I never ask anyone. I don't want to know. I don't want to know, because you're giving me your opinion, or your opinions based on your personal experience with that kid, and maybe they behave a certain way with you because of who you are as a person, right?
They probably do.
Yes, but with me, whenever I'm covering a school, whatever I see in that notebook is so different from what I get.
It's also because you're a new teacher. I think you've been long
Yes.
enough to see that. A new teacher will come in
Mm.
and the kids are super nervous and they'll always be nice to you. They'll usually be on your best behavior in the beginning. But once they get comfortable, they they're like the behavior that they show at home or like at school starts to come out. It
Yeah,
happens
that's
all
why,
the
like,
time because
I
I've
don't
I've
ask
had the
anyone.
exact same experience you've had. Every time I cover at schools, I look at the notebook. I'm like, okay, so and so is going to be a little bit of trouble. Watch out for them, and they
Mhm.
always tend to be less than what is written in the notebook. You're like, it's
Exactly,
so
exactly.
like this is like they're not. They were like they acted out a bit, but it
Fine.
wasn't bad. Like it was okay. Like you can manage through this
Which is funny
normal.
because in this class, which is so it's just a class for like kids of between the age of 3 and 5, right? The Japanese teacher had to come and help me deal with the lesson. But during the whole lesson, it was so good that the Japanese teacher just ended up doing her own paperwork during the lesson. And she was so surprised that they never usually like this. And that's why I make it happen not to ask anyone how are these kids like. Because if you give me that information, I'm like, oh fuck, it's gonna be a challenging day.
I've had the opposite where
Mhm.
people have covered in some of my difficult classes and they've had better experiences. Some of them have been veteran teachers, but some of them have also been new
Mhm.
teachers. So I know for a fact, like, they probably act a little bit different. And I know it because when I was new, they acted different too. Again, once they get into like a
Mm.
routine and they know who you are, they just keep on doing whatever they do. Like, once they know, like, Oscar Sensei won't do anything. But then they see a new face, they're like, who's this teacher? Let me just
Yeah,
chill a
yeah,
bit. Let me size him up. Let me see what he's about.
yeah. Where are his limits? Where are his limits?
Yeah. You're seeing that small one instance, right? While the other
Mm,
teachers
mm.
who teach at that school might see them like 30, 40
Every month.
times. Yeah,
Every
30,
month.
40 times. They see um a much more broader slice of who they are compared to you just teaching them once, right?
Yeah. So that's why, like, if I cover, I just don't know to ask. I won't ask you that question. What
Like
are the
when
kids like?
when I came to cover at your school, I loved the
Yeah.
kids so much, right? But who
But that was different. That was different because even for me, that's a really easy school for me.
but then now, like, here's what I'm saying. Like, that was one time. If I teach it like 4 or 5, maybe 10 times, maybe their personalities will start to become like a little bit grating, and I'll start finding them annoying.
Okay,
I
I
don't
see. I
know.
see.
I don't know. So, um, it is what it is, though. Like, I rather I would rather know than to not know. That's why I always ask questions about like who's difficult and who's not when I go to like cover at a school.
Mhm.
But then the approach I have is to not think
Mhm.
about it too much, not worry about
Now,
it too much,
now that's
because
for me. Here's the thing for me. If I know, I'm gonna think about it. If I know, I'll think about it. So that's why I make sure not to ask that question. I just want to know. Okay, the biggest question we ask is how many kids are in class A. Beyond that, I don't want to know anything else.
at this
Yeah.
point it's funny. I'm more afraid of my own schools than I am of covering other people's schools.
I understand that. I understand that.
Because if you're going to cover somebody's school, again, kids tend to be on the better behavior, the better versions of
Mm.
themselves. And if anything goes wrong, you probably won't see them in a long time, right? It'll be
Yeah.
like, whatever. This isn't. I'm not your teacher. And the students will be like, you're not my teacher, so we won't see each other for a while,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But then when you're seeing, like I said, I mentioned this in the last episode, like when something goes wrong and you know, like, fuck, I have to come here next month and I have to like deal with the consequences of these actions or whatever happened, whatever event happened in the classroom. And you know, and you as the adult, it's upon you to fix it, right? You have to fix what's going on. If a kid acts out, everyone looks at you and be like, what can you do differently? You know, it doesn't even matter if it's not your fault, right? Maybe the kid has a problem, who knows? But like the point is that you as the adult, everyone look to you as the point of authority, and
Yes.
you have to fix it, whatever it is, whatever's going wrong in that class, you have to fix it. And us being teachers, you know, it's like there's so many situations where it's like it feels like it's out of our control, right? Like if these two brothers, I don't know how many twins keep on fighting. There's so many siblings I've seen in so many multiple classes that keep on fighting, right? And you separate them, of course, right? But beyond separating them, if they keep fighting beyond that and you shout at them and they're still fighting, that one you just go like, okay, I can't really do anything now, right? This is clearly something they do at home and stuff like that. And at that point, you write a note saying, hey, man, these kids just keep fighting. I keep on trying to stop them, but they just keep on. Siblings will be siblings, right? They just keep trying to like hit each other and stuff like that. Yeah. I guess maybe at that point you have to like do your best with the lesson and hope the other kids are learning. But that's just an example. I would say that, you know, being in Japan has made me better at not trying to expect things.
What do you mean? Why is that? Why is that?
Because I have failed my own expectations so many times. This is another humbling experience that at some point I just relax, you know? There's only so many times where you set a bar and you realize, oh, I can't even do that. I can't even do that. I can't even do that. And you go through like a cycle of self-deprecation where you're just like, man, I fucking suck. I can't even do this. I'm an adult. I should be able to do this. And then you might even go on a little bit of a self-loathing type trip. But once you come out on the other side and you go like, okay, this is who I am. Let me try and do better. At that point, you're humble, man. Whatever you can do, you just try and do it. So like nowadays, I don't even get that mad at myself. Like I used to get really bummed out about bad classes, you know? And even now I still do sometimes, but like it was much worse in the beginning.
Okay.
Much worse, you know?
For me, like being in Japan hasn't made me like have lower expectations, like, or have less expectations of myself, but it has kind of raised my expectations of society. Coming from Kenya, we know in Kenya things tend not to work, and when they do work, that is the odd moment, right? When you go to a bank or to a city hall and things work out perfectly out within a few minutes, that's when you're like, wow, this was a good day, right? But in Japan, things tend to work. Even though there's so many levels of bureaucracy here, at the end of the day, things will work out. Maybe not in your favor.
You said levels of bureaucracy. I'm just like, man, you can't even compare to Kenya, though.
No. It's much more here. And maybe because you're single now, you depend on your company to do your tax papers, to do most of your stuff. So you're not yet aware of this. Believe me, Japan has levels and levels of bureaucracy that is fucking annoying. However, once you get through this bureaucracy, things always work out. So in Japan, if something will not work out, that is the odd moment. That's when you feel like, what the hell happened today? What happened? Right? As opposed to Kenya, where when the odd moment when things work out, you feel like you're having a great day just because something that should be working out finally worked out.
Right.
Yeah. So being in Japan has raised my expectations of, or maybe the government, of society, not necessarily of myself.
It does make me look at Kenya a little bit more with closer eyes. I'm paying much more attention to the news in Kenya now than I was in Kenya, funny enough.
So since I came to Japan, I've never been looking at Kenyan news. Never. Because I'm not there where I'm looking.
I look just to see what's going on because there's so many times where there's something good in Japan that happens. Like even when I go, let's say, to like my local city hall, right? And they have
Mhm.
like a tablet or like a robot.
Mhm.
There was a robot there that you just press a few buttons and it tells you where to go, right? I'm
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
like, oh, this is nice and like very modern. It would be nice if Kenya
Mhm.
had stuff like this. And
Mhm.
like, I don't know. I can't help but compare Japan with Kenya. And when I think about Japan and Kenya, I always end up going like, hey, what's happening in Kenya, right? But every time
You
I
can't
look,
compare the two. It's not fair.
yes, I keep
It's
on
not fair.
falling. It's almost like a
You shouldn't
trap
compare the two.
because every time I look, I'm always like, oh my
Yeah.
God, we're still doing the
Yeah, like
exact same things, man. Doing the exact same, with the exact same politicians, exact same games, money disappearing. Or let's start a corruption case that goes on for years. The same people leave, other people come in,
exactly.
they eat the money again, eat. You know, it's just like, oh my God, it's so disgusting, and it's just like, man, how does this
So I
end?
think Japan as a okay, of course, whatever I'm saying out of my ass. I haven't researched Japan. I just live here, right? So I can say this based on my opinion that have a foundation of my experience in my life in Japan. I think Japanese culture is very old. Japan has been Japan, like at least been one nation since the 1600s, I believe. I could be wrong about that. Kenya
What do you mean by
has
one
been one.
nation?
So there was the Sengoku Jidai. I
Yeah,
think Sengoku. Fuck,
Sengoku.
like
Yeah,
the
Sengoku
Warring
Jidai.
Age. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Warring Age, right?
Warring states
And the
age.
Warring Age. Yeah, that ended when they finally when whoever won the war. I think it was Nobunaga Oda. He won the war, and
Nobunaga,
then
yeah.
yes, and then Japan, which was a bunch of different regions, became one nation. Now we're now Nihonjin. We're now Japanese. We're not. I don't know, Osaka Jin or whatever else they want to do, whatever names they had back then. I'm not sure. I don't know. But hey, but then again, I'm saying I haven't done any research. Whatever I'm saying is coming out of my ass. Just from stories I've heard from people. I don't have any research behind to back me up. Now, if I am right, if that implies that Japan has been one state for at least 400 years. Kenya has been one state since 1963. We have no identity. The fact that someone can say, I'm a Kenyan, before 1963, there was no Kenyan to speak about.
There was British
Right?
Kenya.
There was British Kenya, right? But not Kenya. Like, if you went to Turkana, like the most like country part of Kenya, like there's nothing. It's up in the arid areas. There's nothing there. Even to this day, there's almost nothing there, right? In 1962, those people in Turkana, they didn't think of themselves as Kenyan. They were thinking of themselves as Turkanans. And even to this day, if you go there, like, okay, they speak Swahili, maybe some of them speak English, but do they really see themselves as Kenyan? Like, oh, I respect my president, Uhuru Kenyatta. I follow the laws put in place by the government. The life they live up there, I think, is more influenced by their own tribal beliefs and social norms, not really by the laws put in place by the Kenyan government.
They're literally
Now for Japan,
they're literally far away from the capital.
no, they're too far away. It's like, I don't know. I think it'll take you 2 days to drive up there, right? It's in the middle. It's like literally the tippy top of Kenya. It's right next to Ethiopia,
And
right?
I feel like it's definitely like there's an influence. There's like a circle of influence or circle of culture. They live a little bit beyond that reach, or at least they live in a region where the influence of culture hits them slower. Does that make
Exactly. I
sense?
agree.
Yeah.
Man, do they even have electricity? I don't even know that.
I don't know. Some of
Yeah.
them for sure they don't. I
Yeah,
can tell you that
exactly.
as a fact.
So, do you think, like when someone says everyone in the world is looking at YouTube and Facebook, dude, do these guys even have TV before we can talk to them about Facebook and YouTube?
There's a famous video of Maasai's getting smartphones, and they were taking photos, and they were all laughing at like the video is them laughing at image filters, like on Instagram and stuff like that, and they're all dying laughing. You know, up until then
Yeah,
they had phones, but they were using like the kibambe, the
The what do you call them? What
In
are they called?
English, in English, like the cheapest
The,
phones, very cheap
what's the
phones,
thing? Yeah,
basically.
just like a phone to call and text. Basically, that's it. You can't
Yeah,
do anything else with it.
in America, I think that the equivalent of that would be like a burner phone, is what they were using,
Exactly. Yes.
like a burner phone.
Yeah. So like now think about that. Going back to the main point, it's like now Japan has been Japan for at least 600 years, right? 400 years, right? Kenya has been Kenya since 1963. So why would we expect Kenya to be as what, as meshed in as a culture, as a society, as Japan is?
Prosperous, as meshed in. Okay, as meshed in. Okay, you
Yeah,
said
like,
meshed in.
yeah.
Man, there's just so
Like,
many. There's just so many variables that you have to put into
another
this. Yeah.
thing, like, so look at America, right? Or even like Europe at the moment, right? Where they say like all these foreigners coming in and they are diluting our culture, right?
Europe.
If
Okay.
you go to Kenya, yes, in Kenya, there is no one singular culture that you can call Kenyan culture, right?
There's a lot of cultures.
Kenya is already, Kenya as it is now is a melting pot. There are how many tribes in Kenya? 42. The last time I checked, I could be wrong, maybe it's higher, but 42 the last time I saw the number.
More.
And
It's like 50 something.
Tribes, yes,
Actually.
yeah, each tribe has its own language. Each tribe also has its own culture. Each tribe, at least in the past, had their own god.
Or their
But
own
as far as I know about Japan,
religion of sorts.
yes, as far as I know about Japan, Japan has just always been Japan. They're either Buddhists or Shinto, and that's it. But they all speak Japanese. They speak the same language. Is not enough to help a culture move forward? We all understand each other. Now imagine your mother, your father comes from Kamba land, right? He's a Kamba, part of the Kamba tribe, right? Now imagine if there was no Kenya right now, and we just a bunch of tribes on this land, right? And your father, who's a Kamba, goes and meets a Turkana in northern Kenya. How can they even converse with each other? It's not possible, right? It's not possible.
They somehow did it in the past. You know?
It wasn't. They're not doing it with everyone. It was like Kamba dealing with the Swahilis from the coast.
Yeah.
But you're already close to each other. So I'm sure you had someone who will come in, live with you long enough, understand your culture, then teach everyone else about that culture, and vice versa, right?
Yeah, envoys.
But I'm talking about someone from like Kamba area, which is like kind of eastern Kenya, right? And someone from Turkana, which is the northernmost part of Kenya. If one individual from Kamba met an individual from Turkana, there will be no way to communicate. No way.
An average individual, they probably want people, yeah.
Exactly. Right? But in Japan, from what I know, this is not a fact, just from what I know, and I could be wrong, I have not done any research. If someone from Osaka were to meet someone from Tokyo, or maybe, okay, let's say move further, from Hokkaido, 100 years ago, they still both speak Japanese, right?
Yep.
Exactly. So they'll get by.
100 years ago. Okay. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. 100 years ago was still very much divided. So they were the very first British the British settlers were just not settlers. Who were the first people to come in? What's the word?
So the colonizers, you mean?
Yeah. The first group of people who came in, the people who brought the religion, Christianity.
Okay. Okay. The what are they called? The missionaries.
Missionaries, yes. The very first missionaries started landing in Kenya. I think in Africa in general. 1900s. You're talking about 100 years ago. 1900s.
I think the first missionaries to Kenya it was a lot longer than that.
Maybe in the late 1800s. It was like
no. It was, I'm gonna say in the 1600s.
1600s?
I said
British.
The Portuguese.
Oh, the Portuguese. Oh yeah, the Portuguese and the Spanish. They've been all over there. Portuguese, Spanish. What else?
Okay, so
Indians.
I'm looking right now online, right? Google. It says who. So the question is, who was the first missionary in Kenya? And the name is Johann Ludwig Kraft.
Johann. That's like Western Europe. Yeah, Western Europe.
Yeah, so he was in Kenya by 1812.
Oh yeah.
1812. Yes, he was German. Yeah,
Johan.
but I don't know. I don't.
So okay, 18, and then it took the British another. I think the
Mm.
British didn't care. They didn't care at that
Mm.
point. The scramble for
No, they
Africa,
didn't because
yeah,
it wasn't until the late 1800s. No.
and that's when they
Yeah.
divided everything up like a cake. What was the name of the guy?
Wait,
What was the name of the
listen,
king?
listen to this.
Uh huh.
Listen to this. This is very interesting. The first Christians to visit East Africa were Vasco da Gama and his crew, including Roman Catholic missionaries, in 1498. He did not, however, leave any of this in East Africa, and the next missionary we hear about is Francis Xavier, the pioneer missionary, on his way to India, who had talks with Muslim leaders in Malindi in 1592.
Uh-huh.
In 1594, the Portuguese viceroy of India ordered that the gospel be preached around Mombasa, and 3 years later, an Augustinian monastery was established there.
Uh-huh.
So the first monastery in Kenya was in 1567.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so the first missionary in Kenya was 1400s, 1500s.
Okay, that's actually, I did not know that.
Yeah.
And on the small topic of scramble for Africa, do you know of the story of the Belgian king who owned he carved up the whole
The whole
of
of Congo.
for himself? Yeah, King Leopold the
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, I know that. He's
Like
the one who started the whole thing. Because the rest of you were like, oh,
I th-
dude, anyone can do
like
this? Fuck, let's do it too.
the amount of power he must have had. Like states and governments were like dividing up land for themselves. This guy, as an individual, just said, "Nah, man, this portion, this part of Africa right here is mine. It's under my
Yeah.
personal control."
Basically, the whole of Central Africa was just his. This is mine now. This is mine now.
And then
Can you imagine that?
Can
the
you-
nerve. Not I wouldn't even call it nerve. Like that means
balls.
like you're born in like no, it's not even balls because he was raised as a king. And I assume he was born into royalty, right?
Royalty, yeah, of course, yeah.
So since you're a baby, people keep pumping up your balls, right?
What do you mean pumping up your balls?
That's what it is. Even people just make you believe you're much greater than you actually are. Can you imagine, like, for you and I, right? We are normal people. So when you make a mistake, people will be quick to tell you, "Hey, Jason, you messed up," right?
Because who am I? I'm nobody. So people can come to your face
Exactly.
and go like,
Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Yeah. But imagine you were born the son of a king. People will be scared to tell you, "Hey, Jason, you messed up," because they're scared of the consequences of telling Jason that he messed up. So everyone tells you you're great, no matter what you do. You're great. You're great. You're great. And how does that affect your psyche?
there's been a lot of reigns where it's like, man, if you tell the king that, best case scenario, you're kicked away out of the palace. Worst case
Yeah,
scenario, then you instantly die.
Exactly. Just because, hey, dude, that wasn't a good idea, you know?
Can you imagine how many people in history who have died just trying to be honest to like royalty or the king? I can only imagine, man.
Now imagine being raised in that environment whereby everyone is praising you no matter what. No matter what you do, you're great.
And
No matter what you do.
it's funny because that brings up the quote. I think I've told you this before. The quote is, show me a son. No, show me a man who's a son of a great man. Show me a great man who's a son of a great man. That's the quote.
Oh, yeah.
And it comes to what you're saying, right? Like, if your father is the king and he is a great man, chances are he'll bring in an age of peace and prosperity that will an age of peace and prosperity that will completely change the nation and even make your reign or make your, what do you call it, you growing up, you become so soft and coddled because everything comes so easy. There's no adversity in the nation. There's no adversity coming your way, right? So you're growing up in this world.
More lives.
Exactly. You're growing up in this world that's very safe. And like you said, everything is provided for you. And it's like, we all know if you don't face adversity, you can't build character. You can't build strength without adversity. So if your father's a great man and he's done all these great things, he's fought all these great people, he's like really worked to carve out this part of the world for him and his people. Then you coming in the second as a second generation king, it's like the
What do you have to?
expectations. Yeah, the expectations. Can you live up to your father? Can you
No,
hold
you
down the
can't.
nation the same way
Yeah.
he did? And it's like, nah, man, your dad grew up in a very specific way to become the man he is. Chances are you weren't born in the same way.
Mm.
And worse off, if there's no adversity when you're growing up and then you suddenly just become king, you're probably just gonna be a fat fuck who just wants to drink all day and fuck women.
True. That's what happened. Oh man, but funny story about like England, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the story of England is that there was a man called William the Conqueror who came from Normandy, France.
William the Conqueror, yeah.
And the Normans, so he came from Normandy. And Normandy is a part of France whereby Vikings settled in, right?
Yeah.
So he was basically a French Viking. So he went to France, to the UK, to England at the time, or it was Britain or like Sax or like Anglo-Saxon region. I don't know what it was. And he just took this place for himself. He fought in the wars.
Oh, I think
obviously assume he's
at that time it was Britannia.
Britannia. Okay, whatever it was, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Probably Britannia. And so he took Britain for himself, right? Britannia for himself.
Yeah.
And apparently he was a big asshole. And everyone feared him. Right? Because of course he's this leader who like took a whole nation for himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no one will tell him anything. And guess how the great William the Conqueror died?
Didn't he die in his sleep?
No, he died in a miserable, like a pathetic way.
What happened?
His
mistress. His mistress stole his stuff.
No.
It wasn't him?
No.
Okay, wait.
No. In his old age, he got fat and complacent. He was very fat. At least for his time, I assume so.
Uh-huh.
And he had a big old belly, right?
Uh-huh.
And he was climbing his horse one day. And one of the guys told him, hey, I don't think you can do that. Because there was some protrusions on the saddle of his horse.
Uh-huh.
And some metal protrusion punctured his belly. And he disemboweled himself while he was trying to climb onto his horse.
No way.
Yes, and that's not only it. So, because he's a king, they had to have the cemetery and do the holy rites on the same day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least a few days later. So they take him to a church or whatever, and they want to have the burial. But because back then they didn't have the proper ways of performing, cleaning the body and
just a small little side note. They were speaking in French during this period. Not many people know that. Like, people always assume. So the reality, so English existed, but it was like the old English. It wasn't even English. It was probably something else, right? And
Saxon.
Anglo-Saxon type language. And the royalty for a very long time spoke French. It's very weird that people thought hey, royalty in England must speak English, right? No. It's actually only during the periods of the War of the Roses that English was established as the permanent and primary language of royalty in England. Up until then, they were using French. That to me was insane. Sorry. Anyway, continue. That was just a segue. Little diversion.
So what happened is when they were going to clean up his body, so his body was rotting. It was swelling up, right? So when they were about to bury his body, the priest is doing the final rites. His body blew up.
What? Okay, what do you mean blew up?
Because it was there for a couple of days. And what happens when you have a dead body is that the body starts to swell up.
Gases
but nowadays,
and liquids and all kinds of weird chemical reactions going on. Yeah.
Exactly. So on the day of this funeral, when they're doing his last rites, just at the moment of the last rites, his body blew up. And it apparently was smelling so bad that everyone had to leave the church and leave his body there. Can you imagine that?
Okay, this is sounding like quite the story.
Exactly, I thought so too. But I found it online, on Wikipedia.
No way, this happened to him?
Yeah.
He was the beginning of England as we know it. I don't think England really came into its own until the War of the Roses. That's when it really cemented itself. But up until then, he was
Oh yeah, I mean, he wasn't really there was not one unified England when he was when he was the conqueror, but he was one of the first ones to be considered like the father of England. One of the people to be considered the father of
And
England.
a lot of
Like you,
historians theorize that because he had such a competent circle of generals and people around him, the
mm,
legends of Alexander the not Alexander, what's his name?
mm,
England folklore guy who wielded
Arthur,
Excalibur.
Arthur,
Arthur, King
Arthur.
Arthur, sorry. So, yeah,
Uh,
the legend of King Arthur were inspired directly by his conquests and his adventures.
mm. Oh man,
I don't know anything, like, I know a bit about Henry. William, sorry. But I didn't know anything about his death.
it's a weird story. Like this is his death is so interesting, so interesting.
Going back to Leopold II of Belgium,
Mm.
this guy killed millions. Millions, Oscar. Historians literally coined the term crimes against humanity just to
Yeah.
describe the practices and the administration he had over Congo Free State. Crimes against
Really?
humanity.
Really?
Yeah, that word was coined because of him. That's how bad it was. Like, this guy was like just chopping hands and of men, women, and children. Like, they were mining all kinds of minerals. But at the time, the most famous mineral, I think, or the most famous resource they were like really mining was rubber.
Mhm.
And when people didn't meet the quota, oh my god, he would literally massacre people, villages. And when they describe the amount of deaths, they're describing the deaths in the millions, like he's some plague. Like, literally, it's like and people, because there were so many mass graves. There've been so many mass graves that have been found. All they have is an estimation, and the estimates range from 1 to 15 million deaths. Just think about that. Like, they've just
1
found
to 50 million. 1 to 50 million.
they
That's the
found
range.
yes, they found so many bodies. Like, they can't even like count. They're just like, wow, this guy. This is based on like what they've been able to find and what had been written at the time. Everyone's just like, this guy's killed millions and upon millions of people. One man, fucking one man. And like we were talking about the other day, it's like, but everyone remembers Hitler's name, right? Everyone remembers Hitler's name, but they don't remember people like Leopold II, the guy who was literally a plague on like a small carved out piece of land in Africa.
No, it's because like he killed people who at least. So for the longest time, the West has been the source of media for the West, right? Which makes sense. The West isn't thinking about writing media for Africa or for Asia, right? Because where is that? Where is that? If you're living in the 1600s, or sorry, in the 1800s, you don't want to hear news from Africa. You mean you don't even care? Like, where is that? Where is Congo? I don't care about that. But if there's a guy who comes from like Germany and is killing hundreds of Germans, and that's big news for Europe, right? So if Leopold goes to Africa and kills 15 million Africans, which is terrible, it doesn't really matter if you're just a blue collar worker or a factory worker in the UK. It doesn't affect your life at all. So why should the media here write a story about that?
So just defend him a little bit though. The 1 to 15 million is a big range, and there've been a lot of disputes against it. But it's still a testament to like how much or how crazy of an administration he had. If people are having these kinds of estimates to how many people died under his reign, it's still insane. Just the thought alone that like people are like assuming because of how many bodies they found, like this guy might have killed millions, So yeah, and there wasn't like there was a census back then. This is like what, mid 1800s. No one cared about how many black people there were in this patch of land. Especially if
I think like it's not even about black. It's not the thing. I think when you start, I don't like that statement, like saying like, oh, how many black people? It's like, hey, they just don't know these people. We're not dealing with them. We're not trading with them. So it's not like I don't care about black people. It's like I don't care. It's just that I don't care about those people over there. Who are they?
Who are they?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know them. I've never heard about them. You're telling me the tribe in this place, in this part of the world, I've never heard about. Okay, so what? How does that affect my life?
They see him as They see them as like, they probably saw us as like free labor. It's like, man, I get to take this land and a bunch of these people for free. Damn, this is a deal, you know? To them, they were just seeing multiple opportunities to grab resources and grab and make money. That's it.
Which back then did make sense, right?
Back then, man, slaves were
And
everything.
especially to them, especially to their culture, it did make sense.
Slaves
I'm
were
not saying it's
everything.
right. I'm not saying it's right, but it did like right now. People always look back at history and say like, not even at history. Just look at your own personal life, right? Look at moments in your past whereby you made a mistake, and you might think, "Oh my God, why would I have done such a thing?" But the reason you did that thing in the past is because you were not as informed as you are now, right?
I feel like you're creating a defense because you're about to say something weird, or people
No,
might
I'm not
construe
saying
as
anything.
weird.
I'm stating a fact. I'm stating a fact whereby if Oscar, for instance, if I insulted my wife a certain way, like a few years back as an example, right?
Right.
And right now I might look back on this memory and say like, why would I tell my wife such a thing? But
That's regrets, guilt.
okay, there are two ways I can go. There are two ways I can go. I can say,
Uh-huh.
oh, I was a big fuck up. That's why I say that. Or I can say, oh, I say that because I was just ignorant and arrogant. And I couldn't imagine back then what would have hurt my wife or how much this me saying A or B would have affected my wife. But now with this information, I know not to say that again. But if you keep going back to your past and assaulting your past as though it's like a terrorist organization and you're trying to break everything down in your past, you're not helping anyone, especially yourself. Now, if you go back at like any nation's history, you'll find things in the past that are like, they're terrible, they're disgusting. But back then, that made sense to everybody. Let's look at slavery. Like America says, oh, like Americans now saying America's history is terrible because we had slavery. Okay. Was America the only country in the world to have slavery? Were Americans the first people to commit the atrocity that is slavery? Nope. Nope.
Slavery is a
But
lot.
the thing
I think
is,
slavery has been around as long as almost human civilization.
exactly.
It's been
Now
around
the
for
thing
a
is like, okay,
very long
the
time.
reason why we did that because we were uninformed, or rather, we were not considering the other person as much as we do today. And even now, there are things we do today that seem normal to us, like you and I owning Samsung phones and iPhone phones without thinking who's actually in the factories making these phones and how much are they
For
being paid.
us, if it's not Taiwanese people, it's Chinese people.
Exactly, and how much are they being paid? Do you
Very
think they're
little.
making as much money as you?
Basically,
Exactly.
sweatshops. They
They're
live.
living
They
on
live in
minimum
the
wage.
factories. They're living in tiny, cramped rooms. We've all seen it. It's been talked
Exactly.
about to death.
But you and I will rush for the latest phone. Maybe not you and I, but we like still. I have an iPhone 10. What's your Samsung? What Samsung you have?
Galaxy S11. 11.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or S10.
You got that phone. You got that phone. Knowing full well that the person who actually put this phone together, he or she's probably living in a fucking slum.
To be
But you're
fair,
enjoying it.
at the moment, I literally could not think of that. Even if you did told me that, to be completely honest with you, I would
Mhm.
still buy the phone.
And that's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is right now, the way you behave at that time, that's the norm today. But maybe in the future, maybe 100 years, maybe 200 years, we look back at this moment and say like, why were they doing that? Right?
Capitalism, man. It's made it so that seeing that many layers deep into the system is hard. Like when you go and buy meat at a supermarket, Oscar, are you thinking about the man or the driver who packaged it, not the driver who drove it there, or the people who packaged it, the butchers who like cut up the meat, the hunters who killed the animal, or the people who farm,
No.
the farmers
Here's the
in
thing.
which the cows were
You
killed and
can't.
things like that?
Let
You
me tell
can't
you,
think of all of those people, all of those
you
lines
can't. It's not
of
possible. I agree. You can't. You can't.
production.
However, if I give you one piece of information, I tell you, bro, the person who made this phone, they're dying of hunger. That's enough information, bro. If I told you, let me make
So
an
now who's
extreme
dying
case.
of hunger?
No, okay, they're living a miserable life. I'm gonna say they're living a miserable life, financially speaking. If I
Okay.
told you, Jason, you buying this phone would mean your cousin in Kenya will never make any money.
Okay. Okay.
It's an very extreme case.
But you've
But
made
say
it
if that was the
personal,
situation,
and that will make
yes,
and that will
right?
work.
Or even not even your cousin. Let me say this guy you knew in university. If you buy this phone, that person will never eat a full meal ever again. Ever again. They'll never like feel satisfied from a meal ever again.
Right. Right. Right.
Now here's the thing. Of course, it's capitalism. Of course, capitalism works because there are too many people in the world right now. So we need this system that blinds us from the reality, as opposed to living in Kenya, in the countryside, whereby if you get meat, you know who hunted the meat, you know who killed the meat, you know everyone, right?
There's not that much competition. So
No,
there's that.
it's not even competition. It's not even competition. It's just like I know everyone, so I know if I get meat from the butcher, I know whose hands this meat has gone through.
So there's not that much competition, and
Mhm.
there
Mhm.
isn't that many. Like the system itself, in terms of how many people are actually producing, it's not that big. Like what you're saying, there's not that many people producing. So the chances are, the one or two like major players who are producing X, Y,
Okay,
or Z.
this is my point. This is my point. My point here is this: that you know the harm that has, you know the pain that has gone into making a phone. You know, at least you know the numbers. You don't know the people, right? But you know the numbers, right?
I'm telling you, man. No, most people, even me and you,
Yeah.
don't know what goes into making our phones, man.
No, but at
The
least you
materials
have
that go
some.
into make a
Even if, okay,
modern
think about this.
smartphone.
Think about this. Don't let's even ignore the things we know we don't know. You have your phone right now. You can go into Google and look it up, right? You
Uh-huh.
can, but we can and we don't, because why would we? Why would we do that? Why?
Uh-huh.
Why would I go and check like how me owning an iPhone is affecting people's lives? I don't want to do that shit. Or even it's not that I don't want to. It's like I'm not thinking about that. I'd rather look at like sexy girls on Instagram. That's more fun. That's more fun,
So you're saying
right?
the reality is too much of a bummer, so we ignore it.
It's a bummer, yes. But then in the future generations, our great great grandchildren might look back at us and say, "We were animals." The way we look back at slavery in America and the rest of the world and say, "They were animals."
It's
But back then, it was the norm. So in America, at the height of slavery, if you're the guy talking about abolishing slavery, you were the madman. You were the madman, right?
hindsight is 2020, right?
Exactly, exactly. I'm not saying that it was right, but back then, that was just the norm. Like, like killing gay people or saying being gay is evil, that's the devil's way. Back then, that was the norm. We just killed them, right? But now it's like, if you have a gay neighbor or a gay friend, their sexuality is something you don't even think about, right?
Nope.
Maybe the only time you might think of, oh, he's gay, is like when you see him kissing a girl, like, oh fuck, I forgot you're gay,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
But that you don't even think about that, even though you know he's gay. But back then, it's like, oh shit, he's gay. Let me let me call the squad. We're gonna kill someone today.
So when talking initially, when you mentioned slavery, I wanted to say it from a purely economic standpoint. Slavery was a huge driver of economic growth in many nations.
I agree.
There's a reason
I
why
agree. I
people
agree.
kept coming back to Africa, as fucked up as it sounds,
Mm,
but like the reason why people kept coming to
mm,
like the Latin America, to Africa,
mm,
and trying to get even more slaves because it was just such cheap labor. People were getting
mm.
insanely
It
rich,
was free labor. No, it's cheap labor. It was free labor. It
practically
was cheap
free.
labor.
Yeah, you own them, so you could do whatever you
Yeah.
want with them, and it's like people were getting like an insane amount of money they never
Now,
thought they would ever see before,
I think
and they were
you and
living
me.
lives that were so glamorous to them, like they would never have to lift a fucking finger.
Now, this is
So
this is
it's
something that
basically
you and I
slavery
know.
made the middle class, a lot of middle class people, royalty, if that makes sense. The only people who had touched that lifestyle before was royalty, but now here comes in this new like tool that you can use, the subjugation tool, and you can take control of these mass amounts of people, which is like, hey, if we just change the way we think about other human beings or people outside of our culture a little bit and say that they're subhuman, it makes it convenient for us, and then we just take control of them like they're animals, and then we can make easy money. Then we call it a day. GG.
This is something you and I know because you watched this interesting documentary. Where did the word slave come from?
Slavic. Oh yeah, we've heard this. Slav.
The word slave came from Slav because originally all of the slaves in Europe, apparently according to the story, were taken from Eastern Europe until the Ottomans took control. The Byzantines took control of like part of the Roman Empire, so they closed off that trading route. So all the slaves from Eastern Europe could no longer go to Western Europe. So the Western Europeans, starting with the Portuguese, discovered there's another place to get free labor. Oh, let's just go south to Africa. We can just give them gold or whatever. Go get their slaves.
And the people, again, the reality is a bummer, right? People who were here, they weren't just taking random people. Nah, African people were literally trading their enemies and some of their family members just to get money and guns and resources. So
that's the story no one wants to hear, right? That's the story no one today wants to hear.
Yeah.
That it's Africans who are selling off African slaves. It's not like the Europeans just taking them. No. You can't do that. Yeah.
It was too much work.
You need a source.
It was too much work to literally come here with an army and to just keep on fighting and grabbing people, It was much easier for the Europeans to just come here and trade the things that are plentiful, things that they can manufacture, that they have so much of, like guns, with the locals.
Now, this is something of an argument I've had. The argument is that, that statement isn't correct because the Europeans were tricking the Africans with gold and other fancy objects to make them sell off their African brothers and sisters. And I'm like, hey, are you telling me that I will see gold and be convinced the gold is so good that I'm just going to sell off my mom? No. If I'm selling off my mom, I know what I'm doing. It's not the gold that's making me sell off my mom. No, that's just a nice consequence of me selling off my mom.
That person, I think, was being a bit naive of how people can think.
Yeah.
Very naive.
I know.
Look at what capitalism can do to people, and we've seen what capitalism can do to people now,
So, going back to what we were saying, you and I buying iPhones and know what's happening, right? We know, but we're still doing it.
Yeah.
We know what's happening.
Back then, they knew. Okay, maybe not everyone, but there were some people who knew.
Yeah, but
they really thought about it and went like, they opened the Bible and say all men are created equal. Yeah, not so much. That's what they're probably thinking. Yeah, not so much, man.
You remember in this documentary whereby they said, in order for the Portuguese to continue going to Africa for slaves, the Catholic Church, the Pope, had to make like a charter that said that Africans are meant to be subjugated.
He just opened the floodgates, Yanni. Hey,
exactly.
Just open the floodgates. Like they just needed to make it morally okay, maybe not even good, just morally okay to go and subjugate and steal those people, and that's all they needed. That's all they needed, They're like, please, man, just make it okay. Just make it okay. And they're like, yeah, then they'll just all run for it.
In the 1600s or 1500s, in Europe, in Lisbon, right?
Lisbon, yeah.
Yes, there were many black aristocrats in Lisbon. 1600s Lisbon, maybe 16 or 1700s, I'm not quite sure. But there were many black aristocrats in Lisbon, which is the capital of Portugal. This is something no one knows about. That in the 1600s, Lisbon was a cultural and racial melting pot. Like you could go there and be black, and if you study and get a job, at least as far as the story goes, your race was the non-issue.
Racism as we see it, the whole idea of black people,
started in America.
I think it might not have started in America, but it was definitely made that image was made very popular by America, by America in general.
So this is the story I heard. This is the story I heard. That when the African slaves, the African labor was being taken from Africa, right? While they're on the ship, they were not just Africans or black, right? It's like Yoruba, it's Igbo, it's all these different tribes, right?
Yeah.
They all speak different cultures, different languages. They have different cultures, right?
Hmm.
And even the white people who are in command of the ship, they're Irish, they're German, they're English, different tribes, if I'm going to say that word, right?
Yeah.
To use that word. But once they arrived on the coast of America, they all just became white and black. Because it became obvious over there, the black people are labor, and the people with lighter skin are the ones who control the labor.
I think visually it's just also easier to divide people up like that, right?
Exactly.
If you compare America to, let's say, Rome, the idea of racism didn't exist. It was xenophobia, right? It was like Romans versus everyone else. You're either part of the Republic or part of the Empire, or you're a slave. And slaves didn't get rights. If you were a Roman, no rights were owed to you at all. And that's why in Colosseums, the gladiators, you'd see all kinds of different people, slaves from all kinds of different places. There was no like one like, hey, black people are subhuman, let's just go. That idea was very much like I think, like you said, it's probably Britain or America that really propagated that idea. Before that, man, slaves were slaves. Slaves were slaves. There was nothing, like there's so many other civilizations that had slaves, and like it didn't matter if you're white or if you're like black. At least this is from the information I know of. Like it was very much colorblind. It was like, hey, are you weak? That was it. If your people were weak, it was a wrap. You guys are all slaves. Your children, your women will probably be part of the the women and children will be made slaves, and the men are slaughtered. That was the common story, and then that's it. You move on. At least a famous case I can give you is what's his name used to do that a lot. Genghis Khan. He would literally kill all the men and enslave the women and the children. And then I don't know how many wives he had. How many wives did he have?
Yes, all of them.
Like over 50? Like the guy, man. Sorry, not wives. He had concubines.
Yeah, he had all of them. He just had all of them.
No, I'm pretty sure he had many wives and concubines. But the guy was fucking. I don't think anyone can deny that. The guy was fucking. Oh god. So now coming back to, man, the reality of slavery and the reality of like some specific parts of history are so oversimplified sometimes. They're oversimplified to a point where like they lose so much nuance and meaning, you know? And people just like, it's almost like the lesson that we're supposed to learn is supposed to be A, and because the people have oversimplified it, it becomes a totally different lesson. Like now people are learning BC or something else, you know, BC or D, stuff like that. And you're just like, hey, it's always when you go and read about it more, you're just like, hey, wait, there's so much more to this story. Why does no one talk about this, you know?
Yeah.
Why does no one talk about it? I don't know.
Yeah, because like it's hard to talk about things in context, especially when you're not there to quite understand that context, right?
Right.
Think of a fight between a couple. Maybe a man and his wife having a fight, right?
Yeah.
And you're not there to witness the fight. You only get the story of the fight from one of the parties, either the husband or the wife. So whatever information you have about the fight is influenced by the lenses of this individual who told you about the fight.
Exactly. That's why the people specifically the people who have seen enough fights or who have been through those sort of situations will always be like, they'll understand in their minds, I'm getting Oscar's side of the story. They won't judge immediately, you know? While some people are so fast to cast a fast stone. Like your wife said X, Y, and Z, fuck that bitch. Fuck her.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, get out.
It's never the case. It's never the case.
It's just like, hey man, what did you do to your wife, Oscar? You know?
Exactly.
This is like the 100th time you didn't, like, it could have been something small, right? This is the 100th time you didn't fold your clothes. You just threw them out on the bed or something like that. and
Mm.
that last like this is the time where she just could not take anymore, right?
Yeah.
And a famous story we can always come back to is like, hey, I'm not saying Rihanna will deserve to be beat by Chris Brown. I'm just saying when you make a nigga lose it like that,
What did
what did she do?
she do?
What the fuck did she do? You know? Like, I'm not saying again, Chris Brown
It's
did a really fucked up thing. Obviously, no one is saying that he's getting a
Yeah.
pass here. But I'm just saying, like, let's not take Rihanna and put her as like a complete victim. She's an angel. She didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know, Chris Brown is just a monster, a demon. Because that's what everyone did. And it was just like, it's a famous joke
but-
now. It's
yeah,
like,
that-
hey,
that
what
was
the
a
fuck
funny
did she
story.
say?
Yeah.
What the fuck did she do?
That's a funny story, right? Because I don't know much about Chris Brown, but has he been known to snap before that or after that?
He's been known to be an asshole.
I don't know.
He's been known to be an asshole.
But
But
being an asshole is something, but snapping that way,
beating Rihanna like that,
yeah,
it takes that
not even beating
extra.
Rihanna, just beating a woman. I mean, I'm not saying beating a woman is okay, but I can imagine slapping someone like, hey, dude, shut the fuck up, I'm gonna slap you, right? Right? And
Yeah.
even I can imagine that to both a man and a woman, both parties. With this, I don't think gender should matter. But now beating someone up, man or woman, to that degree, what did you do? I have to ask, what did you do?
Right? What did you do? And we never knew. No one ever got that side of the story. Everyone just,
I mean,
demonized and
yeah.
crucified Chris Brown, and we called it a day.
Anyway, he got what he deserved at the moment. I mean, he was punished. He went to jail, right, for a while, I believe. Am I wrong?
No, I think he was just socially cancelled.
Community service.
No.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, at least like, hey, things happen. Anyway, things happen. I don't know much about the story. Yeah. Anyway, like let's just say, fuck. Okay, don't hit people. Don't hit people. That's bad.
Why are you ending
That's
it off with that? That's not the point
Yeah,
here.
because like no, I mean like yeah, I'm just gonna say that to save my own ass.
Okay.
Don't
okay.
hit people. Like,
As the last, as
because
the
I think
final
you-
comment, I'm just going to say,
you-
hey, let's try and figure out things and see both sides of the story when things go bad, right? Let's not be so fast to judge people and try and
I
crucify them.
agree. I agree.
Because I feel like
I agree. With
the cancel culture and the media and the world in general has become just a lot more left leaning. So people are just so fast to just take out pitchforks and start burning people to the ground. And it's just like, hey man, can't you just wait until the full story comes out first before getting out your pitchfork? And it's
yeah,
like,
I don't mind. I don't mind if you're left, right, or doing whatever. Like, come on. The thing is, like you said, just give it a while. Give it a while. Just let's find things out first, right? Let's not react now. Okay, there are some stories though, right? Like the thing with Harvey Weinstein, that was kind of crazy. And I think with Harvey Weinstein, it took a while for the story to come out, right? Because according to what I've been hearing in podcasts and stuff, it's like people in Hollywood always knew about Harvey Weinstein.
oh yeah,
Everyone knew about him.
oh yeah, you seen all
Everyone
those
knew.
all those
Everyone-
top like paid, like the most influential actors, big
Yeah.
stars, were all had a picture with them. And it wasn't just
Yeah.
stars too; it was also businessmen, corporate people.
Exactly.
So it was just
So
like
everyone knew.
this guy had his
Everyone
hand
knew.
in all these circles, all these people's
Mm.
hands. Like, and
And-
if his
Mm.
secretary had stories and had his suspicions, his very own secretary, the guy didn't care. He wasn't really trying to
Mm.
hide it.
Yeah.
Like,
But then
Yeah.
it also goes back to like I think at one point in time we had an argument about like power. If you're a man, right, and all this, you can have sex with all these women because okay, you're the boss, or maybe you're rich, so women are more ready to say yes to having sex with you, right?
yeah,
And then if I have sex with my secretary, and after we have sex, my secretary does not like it, and she goes to court and sues me and says like he used his power over me so we can have sex, right?
in my mind, I'm just
Which
like,
we-
fuck off. You know
which is the thing.
exactly what happened.
No, now, this is what I think on the other hand, and this is gonna sound silly, but I truly believe this. Can I sue the woman and say that she's attractive, so she used the attractiveness to have sex with me. Because hey, why is it? Because like if my secretary wasn't attractive, I probably wouldn't try to have sex with her, right? But if he's
Okay.
attractive, of course, I might. Hey, this is gonna sound fucked. And no, it's not fucked up. It's a fact of life. I don't think about having sex with unattractive women, and I'm sure women don't think about having sex with unattractive men, right?
Okay. Okay.
Now, if I have a secretary who is really attractive, and maybe I'm also attractive, but I know I have money, I have means, I'll tell the secretary, hey, I'll take you on a private jet to the Maldives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, if she says yes, hey, I'm gonna ask the question: why are you getting on a private jet alone with your boss to go to the Maldives? Is it because of work? What's happening here? Number two, even though that's the case, if she comes and we do have sex, I wonder now, why will she later on have the right to say that I use my power with wealth and esteem and prestige over her to have sex with her? That's not fair. I'm just using what I have. I don't have looks like she has looks. And if she didn't have looks, I wouldn't be doing this for her or with her, right?
So okay, just so that we end it with this, I agree with what you're saying, and this isn't to take away from people who have actually been in those positions where the higher ups, the people in on top of them, did abuse their power in order to get some sort of sexual favors away from them, right? The most famous ones are like
No,
actors,
but no.
for example, or directors and actors.
No,
That
but here's the thing.
that sort of
Here's the thing. I'm not
relationship.
talking about rape. I'm not talking about a guy like having Weinstein who tells you, let me massage you, then he just collapses on top of you. I'm not talking about that.
Oh no,
That's
but
an
I'm not talking about that too.
yeah,
I'm talking about
yeah.
like there's so many stories of directors who say like, "Hey, if you don't give me a blowjob, you're not gonna be in this film." And then you, as an up and coming star, you're just like, I don't really have a choice
But
because this
not even that.
guy.
Even that for me, that's extreme. Even that for me, that's extreme. For me, that's also extreme.
But those are
Because now
but
I'm
when that
denying you
person,
income. I'm
well,
talking about that's like the situation I'm talking about is whereby this let me use acting as like Hollywood as an example, right? Let's say I'm a director, right?
uh-huh,
And we have this female actress. She already has the job, right?
uh-huh.
And me, the director, I find her attractive. So I tell her, hey, once we're done with shooting, or since we maybe okay, there's a break between this month and this month of shooting. Hey, let's go out to the Maldives on my private jet.
Uh-huh.
Now, of course, in this situation, I'm not telling her if you don't come with me, I will fire you. You will lose your position, your role. I'm just saying, hey, come with me. And I'm not attractive.
That
So maybe she comes with me because maybe just because I'm just more well off than her. Maybe I can do things right now for her that she can do for herself because maybe she's new in the acting business.
so my point was that both instances happen. Both instances happen. Your stories where people did abuse power, and the instances where it was like you can tell it was kind of like a mutual thing, right? If this secretary goes and sees this guy like a bunch of times, and like it's like there's inklings of them pretty much dating, and then years later, or like even like kind of like a certain time period later, she comes out and goes like, "Oh yeah, I wasn't happy with all so and so. He actually was very abusive and very controlling, and I want compensation for it." It's like, man, you're an adult.
Yeah, you knew what you're doing.
Yeah. Again, like
Even
there's just
if you
some
didn't know, okay, then you've learned your lesson. Don't do it again. Don't let that happen again.
there's just some specific instances of like it's very obvious that you're just trying to take advantage of this person being wealthy and powerful, you know.
But then
And
there's also the other hand that which I do also consider, which is so my friend was telling me about like this VR experience, right? Whereby you put on the VR headset and you're a woman, just an average size woman, and there's this big guy, not beating you, but just screaming at you, right? And he was telling me like when he did this, he realized how threatening it can be for a woman to be yelled at by a guy, because like, hey, if you're an average size woman, most guys seem pretty big, right? Like, okay, you're much bigger than me, right? So imagine you just screaming at Yumiko, right? Like, she can't imagine how far, or she knows how. Maybe if she knows you, she can imagine how far you can go, but she can't know. She doesn't know how far she can push you, right? And maybe every time you scream at her, she might think, okay, maybe this is now. I've broken the camel's back. He's gonna snap today. He's gonna snap today. And you being bigger than her, you like if Yumiko snaps at me, at least if there are no knives around, I feel the worst she's gonna do is slap me, right? But if I snap at Yumiko, hey, my brother and I were joking about this in the past. If a guy is doing bench press every day, like he's lifting like 150 kilos or 100 kilos bench press every day, and this guy slaps a woman, this guy can almost knock the woman's head off.
I think, yeah,
right?
He probably can, for sure.
But most women can't do that to a man. You slap a man, the man is like, oh, why did you do that? You know, it's like, it's kind of a joke. Ouch, that hurts.
It hurts. But then if the guy does it, hey, man.
She might die. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe that's...
Look at you, Oscar. Saying things that are You're saying things that are so scandalous, man. The sexes aren't equal? How dare you? How dare you, sir?
No, but we're not equal in strength, for sure. Of course. Here's the thing. You know Ronda Rousey.
Let's just stop right here.
Ronda Rousey.
Let's just stop
right
here.
Let me, last thing. You know Ronda Rousey, right?
Of course, yeah.
I will never pick a fight with Ronda Rousey because she will kill me. She
can fuck up most average men, for sure. She can fuck up most men.
Yeah, exactly. I would never want to even have an argument with her because if she snaps, I'm dead. It's as simple as that.
But now once she enters the top echelon of men with strength,
now people
who are in specialized martial arts like them,
exactly. Ronda Rousey wouldn't pose a threat to someone like John Jones or Brock Lesnar, right? She wouldn't pose a threat. She's nothing, right? So of course, men and women aren't equal. Physically, we're not equal. I mean, the only reason now I'm frightened of Ronda Rousey is because she's been training her whole life how to fuck people and how to fuck people up. That's been her job since she was a kid, learning how to fuck other people up.
And you, Oscar, you've been learning how to drink and smoke weed every day and talk shit.
Yeah, just talking shit. That's what I've been learning to do since a kid. Learning how to talk shit.
Talking trash, just like this podcast. And on that bombshell, let's call it a night. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, thanks.